into some data. Some people might not even see the map. They might just use an executive dashboard, so a little tool on a website, but it actually connects through to GIS, and to them that is GIS. So it just depends what you use it for. But overall it's joining up of data, visualising data, that kind of thing. So GIS in its basic form, if we think of a driving licence, this is probably the most basic form of GIS that you carry around every day, apart from the time when you get pulled over by a copper on the road and you think, no, I've not got my driving licence. But a driving licence is a GIS because it contains details of your location. It's got details of your address, details of your date of birth, all stuff that can be registered to a location and put into a database. But as a driving licence alone, it means nothing. So the DVLA will be holding a database of all your details, which essentially is the basis of the GIS, but it's not easy to interpret. So it's when we actually put it into a map and visualise it that it becomes, the message becomes apparent. So this isn't driving licences, this is actually avian flu occurrences across Europe, compared with flight paths of birds as well, migration paths of birds. But it shows you, it gives you the message, and puts across the message to you where instances are occurring, and helps you to identify patterns. So by visualising, we can identify the patterns. So GIS is composed of 6 essential things. The 2 major components that are really important and really good to get right are the data and the staffing. Without those, your GIS is completely rubbish. So it's important for managers to get your data right, and to get your staffing right, get them trained up properly, that kind of thing. So at the basis of a GIS, we need to capture some data, and there's various ways of capturing data, and this is how you can start up your GIS. And everyone has some information that they walk around with every day, whether it's which supermarket you go to, what school your children go to. It's all captured in the GIS, or is able to be captured in the GIS. And so 80% of all data in some of the facts that's available is actually got spatial content now. Anything that you do can be captured in the GIS. So spatial data can solve various problems. We can use it to look at where you are, how do you get to, so problems that you'd use a normal map for. But then we can look at data over time and compare how things have changed over time. Look at where your nearest thing is, so the proximity. A lot of council sites do this. I've got an example of that in a second. But the one that's going to be important in the future is the what if. So modelling how we can be more sustainable, that kind of thing. So this is an example I found on Google Earth, looking at a site over time, and you can see how it's developed. And this is the Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing. It's really interesting how it's developed over time, and what changes have occurred. And also, this is a site that I helped build at Gateshead when I used to work at Gateshead Council, and it uses GIS to find what's within the surrounding area. So you can type your address in and find out what's in the surrounding area. So what's your closest school, what's your closest doctor's surgery, that kind of thing. So we can use it for proximity analysis. We also use it for modelling. So we're doing a lot of work in the civil engineering school at the moment on climate change, and we're heavily involved in the Tyndall Cities project, looking at sustainability in London, that kind of thing. And we're using GIS to model various scenarios within London. Great thing about GIS is that you're able to scale things. So you're not only able to see the big picture of globally, but you're actually able then to see it in context, so you can see the data just within the UK. Or you can see it within local scales, so you can see the whole of Gateshead this is, or you can see it on a street level. So it's putting things into perspective at different scales and figuring out what's going on. So GIS is used in various locations. Locations always with us wherever we go. Whether you want to find out how to get to your grandma's on Google Maps. A lot of supermarkets are now using it for location planning. So all the big supermarkets like Morrison's and Asda are trying to figure out where their customer base is as to where to locate things. Can also be used to change the workflow. So within an organisation, put GIS into the workflow. It might make it more aligned and more efficient. So it's a good thing to have. One of the biggest users is defence, and they use it to figure out where they're going to bomb people, where they're going to move things. They use it to a highly accurate level. I mean, not a lot of talk is made of the defence use of GIS, but they do use it to a high level. And one of the interesting cases I read about was for marketing casinos. They use GIS inside a casino now to figure out where the flow of traffic is as to where they put the different machines. So it's been used in a massive range of areas. Everyone knows this nice election map. At the background of it is GIS. Weather maps, basis of that is GIS. In the news, you can't miss all the stuff about the spending review at the moment. And the BBC have come up with some maps, which essentially would have been in GIS at some point, showing how the spending review is going to hit. Apparently it's going to hit us harder than everywhere else. Use it in demographics, so this is again a site that I helped build at Gateshead, showing all the demographics of the area, and you can overlay different data sets on it to see the spread across Gateshead. School catchments, at the base of that will always be GIS, working out which schools kids can go to, how whether a kid is allowed to go to a different school, whether they're in the boundary. I know that people start buying houses just for the sake of getting in their school catchment area now. So at the basis of it, it's always going to be GIS working out these things. And the good old map book, still people are buying the paper versions, but at the base of it will be a GIS. So there's a vast array of benefits of using GIS, and the main one is to save time and money, so you can have greater efficiency. I know when I was working in local authorities, there was always cases of people going out on site with paper, coming back, paper goes in a heap and then it gets put into the computer. And so to align those processes, now people are going and getting little PDAs and doing it straight, feeding it straight into the back office, and aligning processes, so you're not wasting time collecting data, then typing it in, that kind of thing. Increases data accuracy. If the spatial location's known, people are likely to go, well, I know that's not there, and I know that's not called that, and it gets people's brains ticking and making the accuracy better. Often there's a need for integrating data, especially in large organisations. So GIS is a great way of doing this because it often pulls all these different types of data together, which couldn't be mixed in other systems. There's always sort of barriers to jump over, but a GIS is a great way of pulling them together. There's always some way of hacking them and putting them together. Believe me, it creates improved communication. When I started at Gateshead, no one seemed to talk to each other. No one knew what was going on, who was doing what. But bringing everyone together around a central cause of GIS, then people all get interested and people start talking and saying, oh, I've got that data set, but it's called something else, and perhaps if we work together, then we could improve that data source and make it more accurate, and they start talking, so it's a great way of doing that. It does accelerate your understanding of a situation. So if you see something visually, it's going to help you understand, like if you're locating a new supermarket, if you've got it on a map, then it's much more likely you're going to understand rather than just looking at a sheet of, oh, our customers at so-and-so address and so-and-so address. As soon as you visualise it, you can see the spread of things, and therefore it makes better decision making. You can use it to help automate workflows. So we can create models to automate the workflow and make sure that everyone's doing the same thing over and over again. Makes it more efficient. Assures that everyone's meeting the right bounds of the job. Web mapping at the moment is being used vastly for assisting customers to locate resources. So that might be a supermarket as a resource, it might be a school, it might be a doctor's surgery, or it might be more serious stuff like resources, as in mineral resources, that kind of thing. One of the big hits with web mapping now being so prolific has meant that the public have got massively increased access to information. All council websites, I would probably say, have now got some kind of GIS mapping on their website, plus a vast array of other organisations. And it means that people can sort of drill into the data and get some feedback on what's around their area and that kind of thing. And people sort of forget, they always think you've got to do something new with GIS, but it might be that you've got a process that's not working quite well, or it's not as efficient as it might be, but GIS might help you improve that. And Mark's going to talk about waste management, and that's something that councils have to do, but